Oh, are you excited? I'm excited. Which means it's time to do a very special ship breakdown video indeed. Well, we focus on the ship that was under the command of Captain Christopher Pike, and eventually some dude who died when a bridge fell on his face. Can't remember his name, I'm sure it didn't matter. That's right, ladies and gents, today we are looking at the USS Enterprise NCC 1701, no bloody A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, or J. And definitely no lens flare. Prepare yourselves for a detailed breakdown of the ship's systems, lore, and much more. Hit it! Welcome to Trek Central, lords, ladies, and sovereigns. I am your host, Lieutenant Adam, and today we're focusing on Strange New Worlds, the brand new Trek series giving us a look at the early adventures of the USS Enterprise under the reign of Captain Christopher Pike, before Captain Kirk would take command of this legendary ship. Now, we saw some of the ship in Season 2 of Star Trek Discovery, but after the events of that season, well, Enterprise was damaged and required repair, and eventually we joined Discovery off on some rampage to someplace naff. So how did the repairs go? And what does the ship look like now? Relatively speaking. Let's take a look. We're on course to reach 100k subscribers still here at Trek Central YouTube channel, so again, if you want to keep up to date on all the latest Star Trek news, lore, and more, then please make sure to hit that subscribe button to never miss a video from the team here at Trek Central, including myself. All hands to battle stations! Engage! Now we're going to talk about this ship in sections, as well as have chapters on the video if you would rather jump to learn more about a specific area of the ship. Very efficient. We'll start with the exterior. The Constitution-class USS Enterprise was the flagship of Starfleet during the mid-23rd century. This heavy cruiser was originally launched in 2245 and was captained by Robert April, whose first officer then was Christopher Pike. As all good captains do, Robert April moved on. Absolutely for in-universe reasons, and certainly not because the actor portraying him was a bit of a... Command of the ship was given to Christopher Pike in 2250 after a single 5-year mission. The Constitution class was 442.06 meters in length, and was not only one of the toughest ships in Starfleet at the time, but serving on a Constitution class was viewed as a great honor. Not just the USS Enterprise, but other Constitution class, like the Intrepid, the Defiant, and of course, the first Constitution class, the USS Constitution. The design of a Constitution class vessel was fairly standard for Starfleet ships at the time, and would go on as a staple of ship design well into the 32nd century. The ship consisted of twin nacelles attached to a secondary hull, which in turn connected to a saucer section. The class would go through a ton of refits during its service, and since we will be mainly talking about the class during its tenure under Pike, after his stint as captain of the USS Discovery, we're going to talk about that design specifically. The Enterprise was heavily damaged at the battle near Zahir in 2258 against the forces of Section 31, commanded by the rogue AI Control. The main damage was on the ship's front saucer section. Now, moving into 2259, the ship has been repaired, and the front of the saucer has been altered. Not only do we have the iconic 3 sensors on the front of the saucer, but above them are some very wide windows. This is where the crew lounge is located on the Enterprise. Another interesting detail of this Enterprise during this time was that the nacelle pylons, which connect the nacelles to the secondary hull, have cutouts in them. Now, what the purpose of these cutouts might be is unknown. As anybody who's watched my Section 31 Discovery-verse video will know, everything is unknown, so let's just move on and be done with it. As with most Starfleet ships of the era, the primary source of power for the vessel is provided by matter-antimatter reaction in a warp core, which allowed the ship to go to warp with its cruising speed of warp 6 and maximum velocity around warp 8. The ship's computer system was duotronic-based, which was computer technology developed by Federation Dr. Richard Daystrom in 2243, replacing the use of resistors and transistors. The defensive and offensive capabilities of the vessel included deflector screens and shields, as well as 8 phaser emitters and 2 photon torpedo launchers. Now, the biggest thing that was changed with this repair to the Enterprise is the ship's interior, which received a substantial upgrade, and we got to look at a lot more compartments of the interior as well. Let's take a look at the bridge. The bridge has changed in some ways since we first saw it in 2258. The main part of the bridge that has changed is that there is no longer a corridor around the outside of the main room. The turbolift entrance has also been brought forward and is not as recessed as it previously was. Now, whether these two changes have reduced the overall size of the bridge structure itself is, again, not currently known. The bridge was remarkably blue last time we saw it, in 2258, and it seems this has changed to more natural lighting in 2259 because Strange New Worlds doesn't believe in lens flare. Thank goodness for that. The view screen has also been changed since we last saw it, with more of a rectangular look to it compared to the angular shape we previously saw it as. There is an out-of-universe reason for this, and it would seem that this has been done to bring the ship more in line with how it looks in Star Trek the original series. You know, once the ship is under the command of Captain James T. What's-his-name. Pike's room. We get some small looks at Pike's quarters, which we first see in the original series pilot The Cage, but it looks like his quarters have also had a massive upgrade. In The Cage, his room was very small, with only a single bed and a massive TV in the middle of his room. Now he seems to have a working kitchen in his quarters, a luxury not many captains of the time had in Starfleet, usually relying on food synthesizers, as Starfleet had not perfected replicator technology at this time. We also learn via the Strange New World trailers that Pike puts on functions for his crew in his quarters and cooks for them. I wonder if anybody else in Star Trek has ever done that. One person seems to spring to mind. What was his name again? I'm so useless at remembering people in these shows. A sizable room and a kitchen is a must for such an occasion, though. His quarters seem to have a fireplace in them as well, seemingly more for form rather than function, as the ship would be more than equipped to heat all rooms on board, but I personally would have thought that fire on a spaceship? Bad idea. Engineering has had a massive revamp from how we previously saw it in the short trek Ask Not, and it will look under Pike's tenure and the watchful eye of Scotty. In Ask Not, the engineering warp core looked horizontal in nature, with a lot of exposed cabling and tech surrounding it. Going from what we see in the original series, it seems like this new engineering has simply not added the grate between the engineering lab and the actual warp core. Perhaps this was a feature added later to engineering, after some accidents during Pike's 5-year mission. Engineering is much more open, with access to the warp core and numerous pylon-like structures surrounding the engineering bay with ladder access to them. Most of the engineers seem to work above the engineering lab's main floor at consoles that overlook the entire room. The sickbay of the Enterprise is where we'll find the Chief Medical Officer residing, along with Nurse Chapel. Before we go into the actual sickbay, let's touch on a special room. As we would see with Dr. McCoy, Dr. Mabenga has his own Chief Medical Officer's office in sickbay, which does look quite similar to McCoy's office. On the actual sickbay room on the Enterprise, it seems like the different biobed areas can be cordoned off, possibly in case sickbay is dealing with some infectious, contagious disease. There are several biobeds accessible, already making this version of the Enterprise sickbay bigger than what we see in the original series. However, a very interesting addition to the sickbay seems to be that it has access to its own transporter system, which definitely makes sense, to beam people directly to sickbay and not just utilizing site-to-site transporters in the main transporter room. Speaking of which, we have a main transporter room for the USS Enterprise. Of course we do. And from what we've seen of it so far, it looks fantastic. You can see the classic transporter pads have had a fantastic redesign to bring them up to modern standards. The central control console is also present, allowing the transporter chief to beam in and out whoever is ready to go. Speaking of chiefs, we know that Chief Kyle is the man in charge of running the transporter room. He can be seen in one of the trailers, where we also get a lovely shot of the Enterprise as well. The transporter space does look like it has had some sort of space behind it to allow for crew access, but we're currently unsure what this space offers people. Also, the transporter room appears to have some sort of large door or panel behind where the chief stands. There are 2 doors, one each to the side of the control podium. However, we're unsure if this large panel is actually the main door or not. Maybe it's just a decoration feature. One of the newest additions to Pike's Enterprise after its repair in 2258 is the addition of a crew lounge on the forward section of the saucer. We see a few of our characters sat here during trailers for the show. Likely it is to be a place for rest and relaxation. We're also wondering if this would replace the mess hall, typically seen on board Enterprise. Unlikely this is the case, but perhaps the crew lounge could also double for an observation lounge at the same time. We do get to see Number 1 walking through while a planet can be seen outside of the windows, so one could presume you'd be able to observe the stars from here. Pike's Enterprise is different from what will one day be Captain Kirk's, but it is to be expected. Starships go through refits and overhauls all the time, especially after damage and hard-fought battles. There's also out-of-universe reasons for that. Difference in technology available to build sets, the amount of money there is to play with. There's 100 different reasons. But the final version of the USS Enterprise looked very different from how it started out under Robert April. I'm sure that the Enterprise is going to look, sound, and just feel fantastic on screen. I'm super excited to see how she performs and discuss more unique aspects of the starship as we get into this new final frontier for the Star Trek universe. Are you as excited as I am to see the heroic USS Enterprise on screen once again in the upcoming series of Star Trek Strange New Worlds? You better be. Otherwise, why are you here? If you want to keep up to date, though, on all the latest Star Trek news, lore, and more, then again, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Never miss a video from the team here at Trek Central. You can also follow us on social media or join the community Discord server. For now, I've been Lieutenant Adam. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Live long and prosper, my friends.